Ready? Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. We will call the July 29th meeting of the City of Mount Pearl Council to order. And good to see that we've got, everybody today in our seats and ready to go, and that's wonderful. The first item would be the adoption of the agenda. We will accept a motion moved by Councillor Stoyle, seconded by Councillor Aker, that the agenda be accepted as presented. Are there any additions beyond one item that I have here, which is a copy of a letter, but there is an identical letter to it in correspondence that I understand Councillor Ledwell will address. So this forms part of that, I'm assuming, Councillor, so we don't need to do anything further on that. And there is also a decision of the Appeal Board of Eastern Newfoundland Regional Appeal, which will also be tabled at the public meeting, and that's in addition to the agenda as well.
There are also two other items in planning that were added to the Dropbox yesterday.
And there are two other items added, but they are in the Dropbox. They are not in paper correspondence. Okay?
They are separate from their amendments.
They are separate, and they are amendments, right? Yeah, okay. That being the case, I'll call the question on the agenda. All in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried. The next item would be the minutes and action report from the meeting of July 15th. I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented, moved by Councillor Wall, seconded by Councillor Ledwell. Are there any errors or omissions, again, from the minutes of July 15th, 2014? Errors or omissions only? Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried. Any business arising, please refer to agenda number if there is. Business arising from the meeting of July 15th that will not be addressed in the meeting of July 29th. Anything at all? All right, hearing none, we are going to move on. Thank you, Council, to the next item, which is proclamations and presentations. And today, I am delighted to be making the following announcement, and hopefully everybody is going to be as delighted as we are. This is exciting because we don't know how people are going to feel about this. First of all, I want to say good afternoon to some special guests some special guests that are here today, as well as some members of the media and city staff. We are delighted to have, as really the first item on the agenda for this meeting, the unveiling of our new state-of-the-art recreation facility, mainly the name, the logo for that facility. This amazing facility, due to open the first week of September, is 60,000 square feet. It is designed to LEED standards, a third-party certification program, and an internationally accepted benchmark for design, construction, and operation of high-performance green buildings. It houses a 25,000 square foot aquatics complex, a fitness center with an indoor walking track, a weight training room, a fitness program space, multi-purpose rooms, as well as a retail space. And also attached, of course, is the Reed Community Center, which houses a double gymnasium ideal for sporting, social, recreational, and cultural events. It will also be home to an expanded youth center this fall. Should add, I suppose, that also our Sports Hall of Fame will also be housed in this new building. We're very proud of the work that's gone into the creation of the name and the brand for this, our largest iconic feature really in the city of Mount Pearl. We've talked about history, and we've talked about our future to great lengths in discussing all of this. Council also wanted to take into consideration the glacier, which shares this site. And in its vision for this facility, decided on a name and a brand that we are extremely happy with. I'm going to ask members of council to join me up here on the front for the unveiling of our name and our logo. And I think we're going to get a couple of the boys over here to bring this out for us, and we'll do it up front. Okay, and Connie wants to get some photos, so we'll do that now, shall we? All right, and then I'm turning things over to you, Deputy Mayor, and you're going to talk a little bit about this. Yep. All right. I believe that this should be, by now, if council did its job, the worst kept secret in the city's history, really, but maybe a lot of people don't know what we've done here. The want to pick? All the pictures done next door. So everybody got what they need?
One good picture.
All right,
Yeah.
we'll do this. Might have to take 30.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
I'm thinking we should, yeah, well, that's already taken out. Lift it in by Jim. So I'll turn the other one. No, Jim's got the other one. Jim's got the big one. Okay, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. What a beautiful, beautiful logo. Is the glare causing problems back there? The new summit will be many things to many people, Your Worship. For some, it's going to be achieving a new level of health and a new level of fitness. For others, it's going to mean discovering new interests and a more active, a more engaging lifestyle. For many families, it will be a place that encourages greater encouragement and participation for all ages. For the City of Mount Pearl, it's the promise of a better, healthier, more inclusive community with facilities designed to attract people of many interests with a promise of a better living and a better life. I don't know if I should say here now what my proposed name was, or would that take away from the... I tried it 4 times, maybe. It almost slipped out. The Summit Center brand captures this multi-purpose character through diagonal bands of rich colors that connect to mimic the shape of a mountain summit. The configuration captures the essence of the facility, a place to reach new heights of personal achievement and personal growth. The interconnection of the colors represents the center's multi-purpose quality and the depth of experience. The summit peak is shaped both to suggest the M in Mount Pearl and a pulse rate, the perfect image of a city in motion. At the base, you can see the flowing lines, and this is a nod to the state-of-the-art aquatic center that you just spoke of, Your Worship, which is the centerpiece of this magnificent structure. As a whole, the Summit Center brand engenders hope, ambition, passion, and direction, aspects that every community aspires to create a better life for all. Your Worship, the cost to construct the Mount Pearl Summit Center, as we know, is approximately $33 million, excluding HST. And under the Building Canada Fund, which is a partnership of the Government of Canada and the Government of Newfoundland and Labrador, the City of Mount Pearl is very appreciative of the total amount of $11.3 million, which was approved under this program in 2009 to assist in the completion of both the Glacier expansion and Pearlgate Recreation Multiplex, the Reed Centre expansion projects. On behalf of Council, I would like to extend special thanks to our prime consultant, Bay New Plan Group Limited, and Marco Construction for their dedication to this project. To Open Communications as well, who worked with the city in designing the logo, the branding, and the name. And I want to send out a special appreciation to our city staff, who have worked extremely hard to keep this massive project on track, on budget, always upholding a vision of excellence, which is what we enjoy here in the city of Mount Pearl. So to our staff, thank you, and keep up the great work. We are so excited to see what you guys have in store for us, for our citizens, for our neighbors, and the many visitors to our remarkable city. The official opening ceremony for the Mount Pearl Summit Center will take place on September the 2nd, while the opening weekend celebrations and activities for our residents, our neighbors, and our visitors will take place Saturday and Sunday, September 6th and 7th. We ask that people watch for more details on our city website, in print publications, and you can certainly find other things through local media. So this is our new logo, our new branding, Your Worship, and it is my pleasure to present this today.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, very much. Comments from Council? Everybody happy with it? Everybody smiling? Well, okay. Now, you know it will be a debate, won't you? People will do what happened with... I remember when we named the Glacier. I was around for that one. And we walked many a mile going, Glacier, Glacier. Is that a good name? The Glacier. I don't know, the Glacier. And now the name is an iconic name. It's So while it's the Mount Pearl Summit Center, I envision the day in the not very distant future when people will refer to events and happenings, competitions and things that are taking place at the summit, and everyone will know where and what it's all about. And what I look forward most right now is the day we unlock the doors and let the public actually see inside this place. It is a pretty phenomenal facility. Of that, I think there's no doubt. And Mount Pearl, I think, will be very, very proud of it when the time comes. Absolutely wonderful. So it's no longer going to be called a multiplex. After almost 4 years, it's got a name. It's going to take some getting used to. Absolutely. Well, that's good. All right, thank you. We will move on. The next item would be a correspondence, and in correspondence there are two pieces there. One is the Business Association of Newfoundland and Labrador. They have written a letter to us referring to what they feel is unfair competition from industry outside the province who are getting to take advantage of opportunities in the oil and gas sector in Newfoundland and Labrador and leaving them out of the loop. I don't know whether we have any comment on it or do we have to respond to it, or should we respond to it, or simply take it as an FYI? Councillor Ledwell.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just very briefly, you've pretty much covered the basis of the letter. This was a letter that was tabled at our Planning and Development Committee meeting just recently. And as you say, it is, of course, from the Business Association of Newfoundland and Labrador. They are very much interested in the continued success of our province's business community. And what they're advocating for here, as you say, Your Worship, is for Newfoundland and Labrador owned and operated companies to be considered for opportunities in the oil and gas industry primarily. The letter is addressed to the provincial government. What they're asking from us, I guess, is some support. They're looking for some changes with the provincial government, the CNL, OPB, looking to ensure that local companies get an opportunity to take advantage of all these opportunities. And I guess they're just looking for our support, including us in the loop as they correspond with the government.
I guess the challenge, Councillor Ledwell, really is, and I read in the letter here, CNL OPB was set up to ensure maximum benefit to our province and its people. Well, yes, but it was also set up to primarily be the oil industry regulator in the province on behalf of both the federal government and the province. If Newfoundland and Labrador companies are not getting their share of the contracts in our oil and gas industry, why would that be? I mean, are they pricing themselves out of the market? All of this stuff gets driven primarily by money and competencies, right? That's what it comes down to. We either have the competencies on here to do it, or we don't, or we're pricing ourselves out of the market. I wonder if the Business Association has made a determination as to what's happening. They indicate that there is some kind of unfairness in the rules. They refer to a level playing field where the rules of engagement are fair for equal opportunity. This is not happening. So they haven't bothered to really explain that, and I don't know whether we could do anything with this at this point in time because of that.
I'm not sure, if I could.
I'm not sure we need to.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it would be our role, but I think we welcome the correspondence and certainly appreciate being informed from the Business Association. I do note that they copy the mayor of the City of St. John's, mayor of the City of Mount Pearl, and the St. John's Board of Trade. I mentioned in committee that I think it would be very wise of Mr. Cody and the Business Association to also keep the Mount Pearl Paradise Chamber of Commerce in the loop, because they are a very strong advocate for businesses in Mount Pearl and Paradise, and of course the more support that they can get in terms of advocacy, the better for them. So I think our planning director has passed that along to Mr. Cody and to the Business Association. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? We're going to move along. We do have another piece of correspondence today, and this is referencing to the Whiteley Drive Housing Cooperative Society Limited. They are basically saying that the federal government is slowly but surely winding down subsidies that are being provided to cooperative housing societies in Canada, and that the winding up of these subsidies will leave a tremendous number of people in the country who currently have housing under this program no longer able to afford it. It's interesting to note that of the 21, I think it is, or 22 housing co-op housing associations in the province, a full 11 of them are here in Mount Pearl. We probably have, on a unit-by-unit basis, more co-op housing than any other community in the province. They are asking for our support to deal with the federal and provincial government on seeing to it that these subsidies are not taken away. And obviously, Council, I would think, might want to endorse that. I'm going to turn things over. Councillor Ledwell, some commentary on this. I believe this came through your committee.
It certainly did, Your Worship. Thank you very much. And as you say, half of the cooperatives in the province are right here in the city of Mount Pearl. So this is an important issue for us here in the city. The Whitley Drive Housing Co-op that exists, of course, here in the city, they're joining with the Co-op Housing Federation of Canada and the Cooperative Housing Association of Newfoundland and Labrador. They're participating in the campaign it's called You Hold the Key, Fix the Housing Crunch. And basically what they're doing is they're asking provincial and federal governments to create long-term cost rent-shared supplement programs. As you mentioned, Your Worship, some of the financial assistance programs that are put out by our provincial and federal counterparts are winding down now, and we're running the risk of them not being replaced. So this campaign and these organizations are right now advocating for some of these, assistance programs to be replaced by something either similar or something very different to assist people who might need this type of housing and this type of financial support. Of course, affordable housing is an important issue here in the city of Mount Pearl and in the region on the Northeast Avalon. And certainly, if these funding programs were to go astray, that might create a further problem in terms of affordable housing and a lack thereof here in the city and in the region. So certainly, I might suggest, we as a committee might suggest that perhaps the city of Mount Pearl could write a letter of support towards the Whitley Drive Housing Co-op and their federal and provincial counterparts, just to support their efforts in this area.
You make that in the form of a motion?
I so move.
All right, moved to seconded. All in favor of that?
I'll speak to it.
Okay, and you wish to speak, Councillor
Yes.
Spoils?
I wanted to speak to it because back 4 or 5 years ago, the market has risen an awful lot here in Newfoundland, especially in the Mount Pearl and on the Avalon Peninsula. And more people can't afford to buy homes anymore, especially our young people. And if they're on, if they're working and only getting minimum wage, I talk to an awful lot of people every single day, and they just can't afford to get a mortgage today. They can't afford to save the money up to be able to qualify for a mortgage. So I think this is so important to have co-op housing in our region and in our community, and I certainly support this, and I think that we should be bringing this to municipalities, Newfoundland and Labrador, and to the urban municipalities, and looking for support all along the province, because this is something that shouldn't be taken away. It's too important for the people in this region, too important for the people in the province, and I certainly support it 100%.
Okay, thank you very much. We will draft such a letter for Council's approval and put it forward. And Councillor Stiles, that is not a bad idea at all, that we actually approach MNL and ask them if they would provide some support for this as well. And we should advise Ms. Langer, who is the property project manager for the Whiteley Drive Housing Co-op, that we intend to do that. I would think that MNL would embrace that initiative and probably produce a proper resolution for convention and so on. So that's a good idea. We should actually do that. Thank you.
Total number of units across the province. Do we have that number there, Councillor Ledwell?
22 societies, the total number of units, man. Whew.
Like it says in the correspondence, 200,000, households across Canada. I'm just curious as to what. Oh,
Councillor Reader might know.
There's approximately 600 in the province. 80% are in the city of Mount Pearl, and the rest are in St. John's or the surrounding metro area. There's very few outside the metro area. The very first housing co-op in Newfoundland and Labrador was in Mount Pearl on Jeffers Drive, known as Genesis Housing Co-op.
Yep, that's right.
And they all work together. The issue here is not so much about the funding for the co-ops, the funding which is being withdrawn by the federal government over time. It's that rent geared to income issue. The basic principle is behind rent geared to income is that people should not have to pay more than, say, 25% of their income towards a rental of their property or for mortgages and property taxes and that kind of thing, right? So CMHC has been withdrawing their funding from the province, and as a result, over time, either the province picks it up or people have to pay more in rent.
In fact, the channel offices are located here.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you. We should note as well that the other document we received attached to this was the Kilbride Cooperative Housing Society Limited. It's a very similar letter. The prayer, the petition is the very same on that one as well. Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on then. We'll start with committee reports. We'll begin with Community Services. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Two items here, two quick items. Firstly is our Arts in the Park program in Centennial Square. This series again will take place again this year, starting Mondays actually, August 4th, August the 11th, and August 18th, 7 p.m. in Centennial Park, and that of course is just outside here next to City Hall in the gazebo area. The Arts in the Park series is coordinated by the Association for the Arts in Mount Pearl, or AMP, in partnership with the Community Services Department. And if people would like more information, they can visit www.amp.ca. And I take note that today we had our some of our workers out there cleaning it up, and it looks very sharp, so it'll be well groomed for the Arts in the Park.
Yeah, I'm assuming that there's a connection on our website to this as well?
I would think, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll double check. Okay, so that's an FYI. And the second item, Your Worship, is outdoor court improvements, a tender approval. The committee is recommending awarding the outdoor court improvements tender to the lowest bidder, Maritime Tennis, with a total cost of $162,381, HST included. And this is covered within the Community Services capital budget for 2014, and I so move.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Locke, seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Question or comment?
Just a quick question. Are these improvements going to be done this year?
Are they all being done this year? Yes. Yes. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. Corporate Services Committee report. Councillor Aker.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Your Worship. One item is the invoices for approval totaling $1,042,073.99, making note that about half of that is made up of items for the multiplex, whether they be the purchase of equipment.
You do mean.
I'm the first. Here's $1. Here's $1.
I think we should make
quarter in the jar.
I think everybody who says multiplex instead of Summit from here on in should have to pay $20 to a charity. What do you think?
Thank you. Let's do this again. Thank you, Your Worship. Invoices in the amount of $1,042,000 is here. About half of it, Your Worship, is for the new Summit Center, the Mount Pearl Summit Center.
There you go.
Being equipment as well as progress payment number 26. And I'm sure we can't change the live version of that, but we can probably
How
go back
fast
to,
you
we can go
changed
back
it.
to tape, right?
How fast you turned it
and
around.
delete that, right? And I so move.
It is moved and it is seconded by Councillor Tessier. Any questions on any of the items listed? There's 1 through 15 there. Anything of particular that stands out? Water consumption for the month of June, just for the month of June, is $402,000, guys. And that's not our peak month, right? I think Councillor Stoll is going to have something to say about that in a minute. But anyway, that's $402,000. Wow. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried. We are moving to Infrastructure Public Works Committee report.
Thank you very
Councillor
much.
Walsh.
Thank you. It's kind of ironic because here it's written the multiplex, but I'm going to say something.
Well, this was
because
done before
I don't want to throw in that dollar. I mean, it's
This was done before.
absolutely done before.
The naming.
but I think it's a great name, and I think it's going to be really catchy. And the site upon which it's located is also, the highest peak in the region. I think certainly in Mount Pearl. So Summit certainly fits for sure. So we'll call it the Summit. I was going to call it something else. Almost, but not quite. We'll call it the Summit.
You were starting to sound like a guy that didn't make it.
Just a couple of things. It almost came out. Just a couple of things. First of all, the Summit is now 99% financially complete, which is incredible. We've been tracking this for a long time, but it seemed like the financial completion was far ahead of our actual construction completion, but we're pretty much there right now. I think we're caught up. One of the things that I wanted to say, a term that's used with a great deal of pride and gusto in the construction industry, is substantial completion, which means basically that the City of Mount Pearl kind of takes over the ownership of the building, and Marco Construction which is a major contractor, and they had literally dozens, if not hundreds, of subcontractors working for them. I just wanted to take this opportunity, Your Worship, on behalf of council to congratulate, first of all, our director, Mr. Anthony DeParpin, and all of the directors, our CAO and senior staff, with the City of Mount Pearl. They, along with Bay New Plan, the engineering consultants on this project, just did an incredibly good job. And we hired a fellow by the name of Daryl Drover, and I want to single out Daryl. It really has been his baby, kind of, other than Jerry's. He really has done a great job with it, working with the people at Bay New Plan, working with the people at Marco, many of the subcontractors. It's a very complex piece of work. Any kind of a facility of that magnitude is complex, but when you're dealing with an aquatic center, I think it makes it that much more complex. So just a word of congratulations to Marco Construction, all of their subsidiary contractors, to Bay New Plan, and of course our own city staff for such an incredibly good job. The other component and there's no motion associated with that, I just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge the substantial completion. Now we have it, now we fine-tune it, and we move towards final completion. A couple of quick things. The bulk garbage, the summer schedule, where we ask people to call in for collection, is working out well, and the uptake is good, and I gave specific numbers on that during the last meeting. At times, of course, we have breaks in the water main, and sometimes they're in the street or on a lawn. That means we have to actually make a dig in the street and remove sidewalks. Our crews are now reinstating that now, our UTM crews, during the summer season. And we're in typical summer mode. In the wintertime, I'm talking about snow clearing and ice control and all that sort of thing. In the summer, it's the milling of the pavement. The street sweeper is in continuous operation. I just want to highlight a couple of the playgrounds. We have replacement schedule in mid-August for the following playgrounds. Bab Crescent, the structure and swings there. Forsey Place, structure and swings. Champlain Crescent, structure. Grain Place, structure. The Brett Place, structure and swings. And Farrell Drive, the swings. All planned for August month, and I'm sure the neighbors in those areas will be delighted with the new apparatus that will be there. Other than that, we continue our routine operation with hydrant flushing and valve exercising, those kinds of things in the summertime, and those efforts are ongoing. And again, Mr. Antle, if you wouldn't mind, pass on our congratulations and our thanks to our crews who continue these efforts, particularly in our parks as well throughout the summer and all year long for that matter. Thanks very much. That's it for public.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. We'll move to Planning and Development Committee report. Councillor Ledwell.
Thank you, Your Worship. Our first item this evening is a proposed accessory building at 13 Princeton Crescent here in the beautiful city of Mount Pearl, of course. The development application is proposing to construct an accessory building in the rear yard of the property. It's proposed that the accessory building would have a floor area of 33.45 square meters and a proposed height of 3.84 meters. Now, the proposed accessory building would be served as a residential storage shed. There is an existing accessory building at the site which would obviously be removed. As per the development regulations, the maximum height that is normally permitted for an accessory building in the residential medium density use zone is 3.5 meters. Now, the resident is requesting a 10% variance to be able to accommodate this particular proposal. And under the regulations, under our development regulations here in the city, council does have the ability to consider the discretionary ability to consider a variance of up to 10%. There was a mail out that occurred to all of the properties within 150 meters of this particular property, and a notice was posted on the city website on July 2nd. Of course, all of that is in conjunction with the city's public notification policy. No responses were received. Of course, we discussed it at the committee meeting that we held recently, and it is the recommendation of the committee that the development permit be issued for the construction of an accessory building in the rear yard of the property at 13 Princeton Crescent with a floor area of 33.45 square meters and a building height of 3.84 meters for the purpose of residential storage, subject to city inspector conditions and the development meeting City of Mount Pearl Development Regulations 2010 and the City of Mount Pearl Building Regulations, and I so move.
Moved by Councillor Ledwell, seconded by Councillor Walsh. Any question or comment? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded, motion carried.
Our second item, Your Worship, is a notice of motion, which I'll read into the record. In accordance with Section 39 of the City of Mount Pearl Act, 1988, take notice that in accordance with Council's public notification policy, I will, at a regular meeting of Council, move an amendment to the land use zoning map of the Mount Pearl Development Regulations 2010 that, if enacted, will amend Map 1 land use zoning map as follows. Rezone an approximately 5,722 square meter portion of land at 43 Greenwood Crescent from residential medium density to commercial general. The purpose of this amendment is to provide Council with the authority to consider an application for the future redevelopment of 43 to 53 Greenwood Crescent into a combined hotel and residential condominium apartment complex. And that concludes our notice of motion. Our next item, Your Worship, is our development permit list for the period of July 15th to the 25th. You'll see there are 3 permits listed there, and I'd like to move those, please.
Moved, seconded, all in favor? Contrary-minded, carried.
Moving right along, of course, we have our permit totals on the residential and commercial side for the period of July 14th to the 26th. You'll see that all of the fine weather that we've been having has provided us once again with a very busy period on the residential side. Most of these, of course, are folks doing renovations to their properties. You'll see the total for the period is $1,016,050, and I so move.
Moved, seconded, all in favor? Contrary-minded, carried.
Similarly, Your Worship, for the commercial side of things, for the same period, we had a not as busy, but equally as lucrative period. The totals for the commercial side of things, $5,280,000 for the same period, and I so move.
Moved, seconded, all in favor? Contrary-minded.
Your Worship, I'm going to move on to those 2 amendments now that were just added yesterday to the particular report.
Okay.
First of all is a proposed Mount Pearl Municipal Plan 2010 Amendment Number 12 for 2014 and the Mount Pearl Development Regulations 2010 Amendment Number 37 for 2014. These are known, of course, together as the Pollux Drive Amendment. Council is in receipt of a request from May Design on behalf of Prospect Development to amend the Mount Pearl Municipal Plan and Development Regulations to revise designation and zoning boundaries to reflect the potential development limits of the Moffat Road Phase 4 subdivision development. Now, there was public notification of this particular application in the Telegram on May 10th. Of course, the city also circulated notice to the 30 property and business owners within a 150-meter radius. The city did receive 8 submissions in response to the call for submissions, and there was a briefing session which was scheduled for June 3rd. It did go ahead. Once the intent of the amendments was clarified, and all questions were answered, most of those in attendance did not have any objection, I should say, to the proposed amendments. So then, on July 22nd, these were after the briefing session. This amendment was forwarded to the Department of Municipal and Intergovernmental Affairs for review. On July 22nd, the city did receive the provincial release for these particular amendments, so that we may now consider them. And of course, as it follows, then we have the recommendation. The Planning and Development Department has no objection to the proposed amendment and recommends the following actions. Number 1, that the Mount Pearl Municipal Plan 2010 Amendment Number 12 and the Mount Pearl Development Regulations 2010 Amendment Number 37, the Pollux Drive Amendment, be adopted by Council. That Gerard Lewis be appointed as the Commissioner for the public hearing process, and that a public hearing be scheduled for August 19th, 2014 here at City Hall, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. Question? Comment? All those in favor? Contrary-minded, carried.
Okay, moving right along, Your Worship. Bear with me 1 second.
Don't have it die now.
Oh, don't have a die now, no. I'll do my best. We'll go through all the correspondence here.
Technology.
Yeah. Planning.
That too.
There's a faster way to do this. Just bear with me. My apologies.
The theme music from Jeopardy should be playing.
I feel that way as well, actually, yeah. Okay, found it. Next item, Your Worship, proposed Mount Pearl Municipal Plan 2010 Amendment Number 13 for 2014, and the proposed Mount Pearl Development Regulations 2010 Amendment Number 38. This is called the 9 Sagona Avenue Amendment. Council's in receipt of a request from East Coast Hydraulics to amend the Mount Pearl Municipal Plan and Development Regulations to revise the land use designation and zoning boundaries to accommodate the future rear yard expansion of the use at 9 Sagona Avenue. There was a notice of the amendment published in the Telegram on May 31st of 2014, and the city also circulated a notice of the amendment to the 28 property and business owners within a 150-meter radius of the subject property. The city received no responses to the request for submissions, and the briefing session that had been scheduled for July 15th was since cancelled. The proposed amendment was then forwarded to the Department of Municipal Affairs and Intergovernmental Affairs for their review, and on July 22nd, the city did receive, in fact, the provincial release for the amendment. Council can now consider the amendment as per our policy, and the Planning and Development Department has no objection to the proposed amendment. Therefore, the following actions are recommended. Number 1, that the Mount Pearl Municipal Plan 2010 Amendment Number 13 and Development Regulation 2010 Amendment Number 38 be adopted by Council. Number 2, that Cliff Johnson be appointed as Commissioner for the public hearing process. And number 3, that a public hearing be scheduled for Monday, August 18th, here at City Hall, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. Questions, comments? All in favor? Aye. Reminded? Motion is carried.
Okay, and finally, Your Worship, one final note from planning. You made mention right off the top of the decision of appeal by the Eastern Newfoundland Regional Appeal Board.
I'm not sure if all council has a copy.
No.
Oh, sorry. What's,
So this was just received this afternoon. That probably explains why council don't all have a copy. Of course, as you'll all recall, this appeal arises from the decision of the City of Mount Pearl to conditionally approve Carwood Construction Limited to consolidate property, develop 2 apartment buildings for seniors, and undertake associated site development at 33 to 39 Municipal Avenue. Now, on May 28, 2014, a group called the Concerned Citizens and Business Owners of Mount Pearl filed an appeal with the Eastern Newfoundland Regional Appeal Board. Now, the grounds of the appeal are summarized here in the decision, but just, I guess, to be brief, there was issues surrounding potential conflict of interest, issues surrounding potential problems with stormwater disposal. There was an idea that the floodplain study needed upgrading, and there was an idea that perhaps the city had not complied with the Mount Pearl Municipal Plan. The board did hear the appeal on July 21st, and it was, of course, they reviewed all of the pertinent submissions and documentation that were provided at the appeal process, at the appeal hearing. It was decided by the board that there were no issues of conflict of interest, and that all of the issues regarding stormwater and the floodplain mapping were addressed in the fact that it was a conditional approval that was issued by the city, and that the City of Mount Pearl did in fact have the authority to be able to attach such conditions to the permit, and that basically the city had operated as per the municipal plan and all of the regulations in going through the process and granting the conditional approval for the project. So in conclusion, I would report that following the appeal that was held on July 21st, the Eastern Newfoundland Regional Appeal Board has confirmed the decision of the City of Mount Pearl that the conditional approval for this project on the Municipal Avenue be granted. And that concludes planning.
Thank you very much for tabling this document, obviously, today as a public document of council from the Regional Appeal Board, yes?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Fine. Anyone with questions or comments
Just a question.
on this, Councillor Stoyle?
So the developer now can go ahead and start his project? Is that how it works?
Developer can now go
Once
ahead
we
and start his project.
once we receive the documents and it's tabled here at City Hall, at Council, at a public meeting, the developer's permits will be issued. They were already issued anyway,
That is correct.
right? So
The
we
developer now has authority to go ahead
and
earliest
start
opportunity.
at his earliest opportunity.
Yeah.
Perfect.
To begin work on that particular project, and I would imagine that he will do so very soon. Just a comment of my own on it. Let me just say to council that I'm obviously delighted with the outcome, not because this constitutes any kind of a victory. I don't believe that that's the circumstance we actually live in here. We have a process as a city that we go through whenever we try to do any kind of a development, be it something as large as the Summit Center. Notice how I say my buck there, Councilor Aiken. Be it as large as the Summit Center or as small as anything might be, including a development where we're trying to do something as it relates to affordable housing for seniors. It is apropos that we had these letters from the co-op today at the same time that we had a copy Appeal Board, more than anything, once again confirms for us or reaffirms for us that the processes we use under our act and as a city, when it comes to how we process these applications, the public consultation, the public engagement, the way we go about making the decisions is reaffirmed through this. I think that that's one positive takeaway that we have that comes from this. And once again, like I say, this is not, these appeal processes to the Regional Appeal Board are legitimate. They're important. It gives citizens an opportunity to voice their concerns, to express their angst when a decision is made that they don't agree with. It puts it in the hands of a completely independent body who has to answer the question, did we do it properly? So every time we get one of these, and this is not our first one, where the decision rendered by the board is that the permits that we issued are appropriate and that the developer can move ahead under the conditions that were established, I always feel, and appreciate the fact that our processes work so very well. And I think that's the takeaway from this particular one as well. We should note, I guess, Councillor Ledwell, that the appellant here, if they wish to, they can file an appeal to the Supreme Court of Newfoundland and Labrador Trial Division, with an understanding, though, that what has to be argued there, if they wish to, is a question of law or a question of jurisdiction. It would simply be, was there a legal error made that they could challenge, or does the board actually have jurisdiction to hear an appeal of this type? And that one, I think everybody knows full well. This is what the Regional Appeal Board is set up to. And that basically ends up. Does anybody have a comment or a thought beyond that at this point in time? This is a project we look forward to doing. It is the first time, I think, that we ourselves consolidated land for the purposes of doing a housing development for seniors and trying to provide that kind of facility in the community. There's a huge demand for it. I think what will be interesting at the end of the day is that the Municipal Avenue area itself, where people are so opposed to this type of development, they are going to find as this development moves forward that there's going to be some tremendous benefits for their community. There is going to be upgraded road work, there is going to be upgraded sewer work, there is going to be upgraded sidewalk and curb and gutter, there is going to be a change in the dynamic on how traffic flows and moves through the area. There will be tremendous benefits for the community overall. I think that I'm hoping that over time they will come to appreciate. All right, next item, unless anybody has a comment. If not, we're moving on. Councillor Stoyle, tell us about water.
We have a couple of items for information mostly, and the public is advised that Council has taken a strong approach on addressing litter in our community. We hired a staff person for a 6-8 month period to go around and meet with businesses and individuals as well. But they started their campaign and they went, they've spent a couple of weeks already out there now meeting with businesses, and we just wanted to inform the public that it's, we certainly have taken a strong approach on this, and what we're saying is fines, penalties and fines will be enforced and increased in the city to keep our city green. So hopefully in the next number of months we're going to make a big difference in that.
Any word on when we're going to paint some boxes?
That's already started. I think we've already gone out and we have some individuals that have agreed to do some, and we haven't painted one yet. I don't know if Mr. Collins has.
We've received, I believe it's 4 submissions so far from artists, and are actually working with AMP, so I'm hoping something will be started in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, so they're submitting concept drawings or something. Right?
Exactly.
We're not just giving them a blank palette.
We're not just giving them a blank palette, correct.
Why not?
Just to make sure that they're approved and they fit in.
We are. Yeah. Councillor Lesser with a question.
Are we providing to the arts community how many boxes we have, where they're located, so that they can provide some kind of theme? Because we want it to be thematically linked to the area, I suspect. So are we providing that information to the arts community?
Correct.
Yes?
All that's done. All that's done.
So when will we get one painted?
Hopefully in 2 weeks.
I like Councillor Stotts because she's bold. You notice that you, the director, nodded and pondered once.
She said 2 weeks.
But the councillor said within 2 weeks.
Within
No.
2 weeks it should be started, yes, they're going to be, it's all the end of it.
Backtrack.
No.
Within 2 weeks, we should be starting.
No,
Okay.
it won't take long to paint one once they get out and do it, once they have the design. Not done. Yeah, you get professionals out there doing this stuff, they know what they're doing.
I tell you, the ones going up Ruth Avenue are killing me. They're killing me. I want to go and paint them myself, but I can't paint.
Yeah,
I can paint them white.
that's about all.
Carry on, councillor. I'm sorry.
The only other couple of items we have is the water levels. Of course, the water levels are steadily dropping, and we want to advise people, to conserve water. And of course, the other item we have today is that the City of Mount Pearl, in conjunction with our regional fire, have decided to lift the water ban. But now we're expecting high fire ban. We're expecting high temperatures over the next couple of days again, so it's possible that it could be put back in place, but we want to tell people certainly to be careful when they're having fires in their backyard and be mindful very much of their neighbours and and the smoke, and of course not have high flames of anything. We just want to say to people we're going to allow them to do it and use dry wood that's don't make a smell or an odour, so it won't affect people's breathing problems or anything like that. If we should, well, we talked about it and we were back and forth actually all day yesterday. I think I must have had 20 different emails back and forth with Mr. Peach at the regional fire, and they recommended that we would lift it, and I think the City of St. John's is planning on doing the same thing as we have as joint
Bylaws go with the chiefs. Agree or recommendation.
So-
we're doing it, but we're doing it with some hesitation.
Oh, no doubt.
We're doing it with,
Well, like the message said, and please be careful.
please be careful, yeah.
But if we find tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow evening that it's not suitable to light a fire, we can always send out a message to the public and have it banned.
This is where our mass education system comes in, guys.
That's right. And that's all for me, Your Worship.
I just want to throw something out there now because it's been raised before around the council table about. I think we had the hottest July on record globally, and of course, I haven't seen weather like this since.
You never seen weather
since
like
I
this.
was a young boy. Back in '82, we did have a summer just like this, as a matter of fact. 82, 83 was bone dry, but
No. Not this good.
not to the heights that we had, but it was dry and it was hot all July. But again, this notion of we're encouraging people to conserve water one drop at a time. Given the trend that we're seeing in climate and the warmth worldwide, I'd like to look at other measures to conserve water. I'd like to look at bringing in water meters. I'd like to look at bringing in water barrels where people can use this to irrigate their lawns and their flowers and stuff like that. I think the time has come that we got to go beyond these educational campaigns where say people should do this, because driving around yesterday in 2 occasions at 1:15 in the afternoon, I still saw people with their sprinklers on their front lawn. So it's just not reaching all people. So I think we got to impose measures. So I'd like to throw that out there, and maybe that's something we can investigate at committee level to see.
Absolutely. We are moving on, are we then? Regional Services Environment Committee report, we just concluded. Transportation Public Safety Committee, Councillor Tessier.
Thank you, Your Worship. We want to make our residents aware of some unpermitted activity that we're finding within our parks, our trails, and our open public areas. Our MEOs and our park patrol officers have been out since early June, and they've been observing our parks and trails and these public open areas to find that there's some activities that certainly aren't permitted that have been happening from time to time. They include open fires, some drug use, some alcohol consumption, ATV use, and speeding. Speeding on our trailway systems is quite concerning, of course. Evidence of makeshift cubbies, camps with blankets, tarps, potential fire pits, wood piles, etc. So we want to make people aware that if they see anything untoward in our public areas, if they see something that they believe should be reported, by all means they're welcome to do it, and we'd encourage them to do it by calling our MEOs at 748-1058. Prevention is key in situations like this. We want to do our best to make our trailway systems. How so? Contacting our MEOs? Well, it's pretty easy, dialing a number. I don't know, we don't have a quick and easy, like a...
Like a 911 thing wouldn't do it.
No. Well, create an app, but see, not everybody, if it does, everybody have a smartphone. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm not sure what the numbers are. I can't recall from the report. I saw the report. There's some. Again, I'm not sure that this is, it's not something that's very, very widespread, but I think it's still a very important public awareness piece that people have to recognize that there's certain activities that just aren't permitted in our public areas at all.
Yep.
At all.
That's right. Bottom line.
So.
Around the edges, I'll call it the edges of the city, right?
Yes.
That's where we get the ATV stuff.
Yes.
That's where I think most.
Well, we get that.
Most of that happens.
Yeah, we get that. We do get some of it on the inner trailway system as well. But you're absolutely right. The outside areas, particularly, it's very tempting to take out your ATV and open it up. But you just cannot. You can't do that within our city limits on our public trailway systems, particularly.
But these cubbies, I mean, there's regular cubbies that we can visit.
Absolutely. And we do. And we do.
Park control goes to
Yeah.
our MEOs,
Yeah.
because they're
Yeah, I
established
don't like
areas.
anybody on our trail system would ever bother to do it.
Well, and we're very,
Yeah.
and we have our park patrol out on bikes as well. So we're very fortunate and we're very appreciative of all of the efforts of our MEOs and of our park patrol. As a municipality, this is a great service that we're able to provide to people. It gives you a great sense of comfort. I know I use the trailway system all the time and feel very, very comfortable doing it because I know that you're going to see park patrol. You're going to see people in your travels, and there's hundreds of people out enjoying the trailway systems every day. We just want to make sure that they get to enjoy it to the very fullest of their ability, and that none of the activities that we see listed here become part of what is accepted, because it is most certainly not accepted or acceptable. The next item, Holy Sepulchre is having their outdoor mass today. I know I drove by.
She's full now.
Yeah, I drove by yesterday. There was already some prep work being done. About 12,000 people are going to be there. I'm sure that the majority of them are probably preparing if they're not there already. It's a beautiful evening for it, but we of course want to remind people that there's going to be major traffic issues in the area of this particular cemetery, so we want people to be very well aware of that.
That's amazing. Numbers at 11:30 this morning.
Yes, absolutely.
Black Marsh Road was
People are very much preparing. Yeah, very much preparing.
How engaged would our municipal enforcement be in the traffic reality at this event versus the RNC?
Yep, heavily, very visible.
Part of it. Are we like the main
Yeah.
go-to group for this when it comes to traffic control, or is the RNC also playing a role here right now?
Yeah. I think that there's already been some mediation measures put in place. I think there's some pylons put in place as well right now as well to help with.
barricades
Yeah,
north-south.
absolutely.
control.
Absolutely.
But I asked, I think last year at this time, about, do we provide any sort of busing? Is there any sort of, again, there's 12,000 people coming out. I don't know if there's any way they can provide some kind of shuttle service like we do for City Days, for example. Is it?
This is, yeah.
The entire region, not just, it happens to be in Mount Pearl.
I realize
The
that.
staging place.
But again, if you could have, to that point,
Yeah.
staging places where people, if we had, I don't know if that's something that we can speak to the church on to see.
I think probably for next year, if we wish, we could probably have a discussion with the authorities at the church to see if they wanted to organize something like that. I'm sure that it's safe to say that we'd be very happy to support that if they wanted to set up specific pick-up, drop-off areas for shuttles, just to make life a little easier for the people involved.
It's an option for people.
Absolutely. The next item, Your Worship, the committee is recommending approval to accept the amended traffic regulations as presented. The purpose of the amendment is to clarify our authority to regulate the traffic services throughout the city. I've got some bullets here that just, because I know it's a pretty long document and it's hard to see what has been changed and what hasn't. So it's essentially cleaning it up. So some of the changes that are made, there's some general formatting, reorganizing, and rewording. There's a schedule of fine amounts that are added. We've increased the fine amounts for most offenses from the current $20 to $45 range to $75 to $100 range. And another change is that we have increased the fine amount for impaired mobility parking to $400 to reflect provincial legislation. That's the blue zone parking. Absolutely. Now I've got to...
We're getting some kudos for doing that
It's incredibly important. I mean, of all the places to abuse, we don't abuse the blue zone. Absolutely. My goodness.
Somebody asked me the question, right, how come yours is $100 when it's now $400? How come you haven't changed it? And I literally, I said, I don't know, I'll check it. I phoned down and I'm told, why, that's coming Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's
Good to know we're on top of this stuff.
But it's really important that we do that, because if somebody is considering that they're only going to pop into the store for a minute and that blue zone is empty and they don't qualify for that blue zone,
It's all about leading me not into temptation.
but they decide to avail of it anyway, a $400 ticket, let's hope, can prevent that, so that blue zone is left open for the people who need it. All right. To that effect, we're also requesting approval to accept the amended taxi regulation. Oh, I'm sorry. Call the question. We didn't do the motion. No. That's it for the. No, that's it. Sorry.
It is moved and it is seconded by Councilor Redwell. We've already done questions or comments.
Truly.
All in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
Okay, now it's safe to move on.
One single ticket.
I hope that we don't write one single ticket, not because somebody hasn't been caught, but because they haven't done it.
That's my point.
Absolutely. Okay, next item. To that effect, we are also recommending approval to accept the amended taxi regulations as presented. For the same reason, we're looking to clean them up a little bit. And I do have some bullets on that as well, because it is a long document. The changes made to the taxi regulations consist of general formatting, reorganizing, and rewording. We're clarifying the definition for the holder and the owner of the taxi license. We've clarified license requirements, renewal and transfer process. We've clarified the process for revoking licenses, and we've included that inspections are recent and must be no more than 90 days old. And, of course, the schedule of fines has been added to that as well. And I move that this be accepted as presented.
It's moved and seconded. Any question or comment? Very quick question. Does this allow us, under these new regulations, I think I know the answer, but I want you to answer for me anyway. Does this allow us to control the distributors, I'll call it, the brokers, the guys that own cabs, not the cab company? You know, in our case, we've got 2. But you could have a broker who's got 9 cars on that cab stand. Can we control that broker now from the perspective of where he's parking those cars, fixing those cars, doing that kind of thing?
The cars should be parked at the designated taxi stand themselves. Right now, yeah. Our regulations.
When not serving a customer.
When not serving a customer, that's right. Our regulations say that you can park on the street when you're picking up a customer or dropping off a customer. Aside from that, they should be parked at their own taxi stand, regulated taxi stand.
Okay, any other questions? Councilor Stiles.
Looking at the changes and that, I'm just, I know you highlighted some things in the change, but isn't there another change where there's only one taxi cab allowed per homeowner in the regulations? Did we not make the change that now if somebody is living in a resident and they own 2 taxi cabs, that they're not allowed to park them 2 taxi cabs at that private residence? And isn't that a change made to this?
Can I respond to that, Your Worship, please? That was in a proposal that was presented to Committee of the Whole in the last meeting, Councillor, but it was actually withheld because the feedback that was received from the taxi companies themselves felt that was a little unfair. Well, in some cases as well, you may in fact have a broker and have a driver who lives downstairs, and would that regulation be then reasonable or fair for them? It would not have fulfilled some of the intent that part of the regulation of the taxi industry was designed to do. But I think this, as Councillor Tessier said, this was more a broad stroke revision of taxi regulations to regulate costs, pricing, all kinds of different things. But that one piece, the parking piece, was actually, while it was there last meeting, it was actually withdrawn because of feedback from within the industry itself, and quite frankly, I'm not sure it's something that you could even uphold. So that was taken back.
So we pay on cabs on private property?
Again, no. What we're saying is that it doesn't address it. It doesn't address it at all. It's just withdrawn altogether.
Councilor Raker.
No, I just wanted to add, further to the CAO's comment, I believe it was withdrawn for tonight for further discussion in committee of the whole. There is an issue in several locations in Mount Pearl with taxis parked on streets. I think we're just trying to find a way that's amenable to the residents as well as the taxi owners. But my understanding was we were, in my words, deferring that item for further review and analysis, and that's why it wasn't in tonight's package, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's all right.
I do remember the discussion.
I was going to say
An
the
email
same thing
today
about
about
close
it,
the
actually.
debate.
I
That's
didn't
right.
see the email today.
Yeah.
We will call the question. All those in favor?
Thank you, Johnson.
Very minded? Motion carried. The end. We are going to do new business. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of quick items. I want to extend congratulations and kudos to our City Days Committee and our Community Services staff for another great event. You had the weather gods on our side, I think, except for the Saturday morning, the quick wind change that came about when we were up in the milk boat race up at Powers Pond. But other than that, it was a great day. All the events were well attended, and we did acknowledge the committee at the big blitz on the Sunday evening. But I want to publicly state again the work that goes in. I mean, these things, they run so smoothly, but they take so much time and effort behind the scenes. So just extend congratulations and kudos to all those involved. It's timely, speaking of our traffic regulations, and in today's paper, dealing with the noisy vehicles and the decibel levels of these noisy vehicles. It's been in the media this past week, call-in shows and in the Twitter world and all that sort of stuff. To regulate, I think they said the acceptable level was 83 decibels, and I think there was a piece in today's paper that they were going to try to police and enforce this, and had 4 or 5 residents also speak to this issue about the noise that comes out of these. They're usually the motorcycles, the aftermarket motorcycles, and again, just 2 nights ago, one whipped down Smallwood Drive at about, I'm going to suggest, 12:30 at night, with all baffles open and the backfiring and all this sort of stuff. And it actually, you could feel the reverberations in the house. And of course, the next morning around the breakfast table, my wife said, Jim, is there any regulations in Mount Pearl's bylaws that can address that? So I just have a question to our committee: is this something that we could possibly enforce under our traffic regulations? And they acknowledge the fact, the difficulty of it, but now they're talking about bringing these decibel readers, which we have. I know that we brought those on because we brought it in when we brought in the new regulations regarding the heat pumps and the noise levels that were acceptable, on our residential properties. So I was just curious: is that something that committee has looked at? Is it something that we can enforce on our regulations?
Can I respond?
Yes.
We haven't talked about it to this point because, quite frankly, this is our first summer with this committee. So it's our first time experiencing, I guess, these discussions. And this discussion has come up before around the council table. I'm wondering, it would be very, very difficult to enforce that. This is something that I can see being successful only if it was provincial-wide, if it was a provincial regulation of some sort. And to that effect, I wonder what kind of role MNL might play in that. It is already a provincial regulation. So should we not look at a potential, and I know that this is a discussion that we will have further, but I'm wondering if this is not something that could be a resolution at lowering the accepted decibel level, or at... It has been.
I'm sure it has been out.
Well, maybe we need to revive it.
St.
If
John's
it's,
actually brought out, I think, the Deputy Mayor Duff about 3 or 4 years
yeah.
ago.
So if it's a concern, maybe it's something that we can revive. Maybe it's something that just needs another little, breath of life blown back into it again.
You might want to wait for the pilot.
That's it. Councillor Floyd.
I just have a couple of items. Wanted to mention City Days, of course, and what a great turnout it was. I know a number of us had worked in the beer tent and volunteered, helping with the Kinsmen and Knechts.
That's why they ran out of beer.
At last, and I think it was the first year ever that they happened to run out of beer, but it was certainly a great evening. And but the one item I wanted to mention was the breakfast on Saturday morning, and having the princesses and that there. And I want to specifically prince and princesses, but it was a young lady, Alyssa Ellsworth, who was one of our youth of the year. She started a company, and she brought these gorgeous, fancy princesses dresses, something you see down in Disney. They were absolutely amazing. She has 3 to 4 dresses now, and she rents herself and her staff out for birthday parties and different events throughout the province. And I got to say, what a great initiative for a young person to take on her own, and wanted to say hats off to her and the organisation and the groups that she's involved with. And I also want to pass on my sympathy to the Walsh family. Tony Walsh, Effie's husband and family. Tony was a great volunteer here in the city, very involved in baseball actually, and lived in Mount Pearl for as long as I can remember, and want to pass on my sympathy to him and his family.
Councillor Walsh.
Just a couple of quick things. First of all, just prior to our coming into the public council meeting, we all went out and met Ben Dalton, who was had been bicycling for 3 months, actually, approximately across Canada, in aid of MS research, and just an incredible feat. He's a remarkable man. I've known him for a long time. We were actually schoolmates and did some work together in the school system. But just a personal thing that he wanted to do, and of course he did it in the name of multiple sclerosis fundraising. Just a great effort, and I think it was really excellent and appropriate that we met him at City Hall, and also really nice that he chose to come to Mount Pearl and come to the City Hall in Mount Pearl as part of his arrival destination within the province. So I just wanted to extend congratulations to Ben on a tremendous feat. Also, not quite sure where the St. John's Regional Fire Department is on this fire issue, that we couldn't light fires last week, but this week with temperatures and humidity as high as it is, that we're able to. But if we can, and we have lifted the ban, and that is, as Councillor Akers suggested as well, it is a regional decision. Any of the municipalities that are serviced by the St. John's Regional Fire Department, we all respect it, and whatever we do pretty much together. But I would caution people who have these fireplaces, it's not just the fire and the danger of fire, the dryness and all of that, but this time of year an awful lot of people also close their windows, and they have these they have the air exchange systems in their homes, and it takes a lot of the fire and the smoke, and it actually brings it into the home. So it creates problems more than just risks for fire. So just be very, very careful with it, be vigilant with it. And the last thing, just like the Deputy Mayor mentioned, I mentioned to one person who actually lives on the street where I live, unfortunately, but again, this indiscriminate watering of lawns. Some people, I refuse to believe that people don't know that we have a water conservation order in effect. Yeah. It's in effect all year long. They just don't care. Some people just think that their lawn is more important, or their flowers are more important than the laws themselves. And sometimes a little gentle reminder or reporting. I really think that if we see it, we should report it, get action on it. It's absolutely. But it's happening, and you don't have to go too far and too wide to actually see it. And it's usually, like you say, it's normally right in the middle of the afternoon. It's not something that you do early in the morning or late evening. It's something that should be discontinued, and I think we have to really enforce it to the letter of the law. Thanks very much.
Councillor Tessier.
Yeah, very quickly, I just also want to congratulate the City Days Committee and certainly our community services staff for such a stellar weekend. The weather was outstanding. We could not have scripted it any better, but it was highly successful. And I know even when I was at the Price Club the following weekend, one of the cashiers asked me, "So City Days was wonderful. Did you enjoy it? Did you get an opportunity?" And I'm like, "Well, it was pretty good, but what about you?" And she thought it was just absolutely fabulous. So it's not just Mount Pearl that reaps the benefits of this beautiful weekend. Our neighbours come and celebrate with us as well, and we're really thrilled about that.
Some are advocating for 2 pigs next year.
Some are advocating for 2 pigs. My goodness, today.
More chowder.
That chowder was fabulous as well. Okay, we often talk, I mentioned it to the mayor before the meeting, we often talk in cold temperatures that we have to keep an eye on our seniors and our shut-ins and the people who have difficulty getting out and about. But we've got some pretty extreme temperatures coming this week as well. And I think it's very important. Very few homes in Mount Pearl, or very few homes in this province, really have air conditioning. Some people certainly have taken measures in recent years, but a lot of the older homes don't have any air conditioning systems. It's very important that we check in on our neighbors that are elderly, that may have mobility issues, that may be shut in for whatever reason. When we're looking at temperatures pushing 30 degrees with the Humidex creeping well beyond that, I think it's really important that we're cognizant that we need to check on our neighbors and on our pets, of course, the vulnerable members of our population. So I think it's just an awareness piece that I thought was very important to get out there, because we do it in the winter. We don't think to do it in the summer, but we all know how uncomfortable we can be in situations like we're going to experience this week. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you. Councillor Aker.
Yeah, Your Worship, I wanted to acknowledge a gentleman, Roger White, who was here earlier on. Now, luckily, Roger didn't, like the rest of us, suffer through our meeting. Roger's here, he's from Talon Place, and several of the people up there are experiencing dust issues because of some business activity, which I understand is unapproved up in the area where the industrial park borders the residential area. So I just want to recognize that Roger was here. Director Yevchek spoke with him just before the meeting started, just to explain that I believe it's already in the hands of the Planning and Land Use Committee, and he's looking for a copy of our regulations. But I just want to acknowledge he was here. It's a very important issue, probably the only summer that we ever really would have a dust issue. You know, I mean, I can't imagine most summers we would, but anyway, this summer is the summer, and they're battling through that issue with dust all over the cars and all over the decks. They're covered.
What's causing it?
An unpaved lot.
Out of Donovan's, which is his neighbor across the way.
Yeah.
Put it that way. But the business format changed there, and what used to really be a yard where things were stockpiled has now become a transshipment yard. So there's 18-wheelers coming and going all the time. With the weather we've had, they're creating and kicking up a lot of dust, and with the wind we've had and the direction, it blows right over that street.
Yeah.
And it's causing some grief for the neighbors.
So we're taking some measures with this business.
I guess that's what
We're working on the file. It's in our way, our bureaucratic way. Unfortunately and unfortunately, there are some considerations here. It is with the committee, and I expect we'll see some action in the next few days as it works its way through committee. I too wanted to offer condolences to the Walsh family. The Walshes were neighbors of mine when I was growing up. Effie and Tony lived on Massey Crescent. Effie and Tony were volunteers in the community, as you said, Councillor Doyle's in baseball. Tony's Jr. was not only active in baseball, but in minor hockey. I think he was drafted for the OHL, maybe? I'm not sure who he played for, right? You know what I mean? But he indeed will be missed. He's only retired about 5 years, but again, one of the loyal volunteers here in the city. And further to Councillor Walsh's point about the fire ban, one thing that is allowed, unfortunately, right now, and I'm going to use that word, is fireworks. And I can see having a fire in a chimney in your back garden. I'd be more concerned about the smoke. As long as I'm tending to it, I wouldn't be as concerned about the fire. You know, maybe a water hose nearby and my ability to put it out. But I can't imagine, and I hope people are really, really act responsibly when it comes to shooting off fireworks. But I think that was lifted with the ban, right? You do. When you buy the permit, they only educate. Well, the business is actually, when you go up to a registered seller of fireworks, a condition of buying them is that they will teach you basically the safe use of those fireworks. Unfortunately, I don't see that there's a message gone out to some of the distributors, and this would be across the region and far, basically to say that these fireworks basically shouldn't be used this time of the year. But I understand when St. John's Regional lifted their ban, basically right now there is no ban on fireworks. Is that generally correct, or from shooting them off? You don't need a permit to shoot off fireworks. You need a permit to buy them.
Could we not put a ban on the issuance of permits during times like this?
Yep. We don't actually issue any permits dealing with fireworks. The provincial ban last week was a ban on open fires, which included fireworks. So when the province lifted their ban, they lifted as well the ban on fireworks, not the city itself. Yeah.
Thank you, Your Worship. Very brief, just a couple of items. I also want to extend my congratulations to the City Days Committee. It was just a beautiful weekend, weather-wise and otherwise, so my kudos to the volunteers and to our staff. Director Collins, certainly a job well done. Just want to make mention, Your Worship, of a meeting that you and I attended this afternoon with the Planning Development Committee. Of course, that was a little quarterly get-together with the Board of Directors with the Mount Pearl Paradise Chamber of Commerce. Certainly they are very active at the present time. I'm happy to report they've got roughly 185 members currently, so they're a very vibrant chamber. I wanted to highlight very quickly 3 upcoming events that the chamber has coming up in the next 3 months or so that we discussed during our meeting, just to sort of give them a shout out and perhaps even a little boost, if you will, to let council know and to let the public know that these are happening. First of all, they have their 25th annual Corporate Golf Classic. It's happening on August 21st, 2014 at Clovelly Golf Course. There is a barbecue dinner to follow, and apparently they only have room for 4 more teams. So, if you're interested, certainly that is going to be a great afternoon on the 21st at Clovelly. Also, they have a Business Expo 2014. They have a business trade show, which is going to be held on Wednesday, September 24th. It's at the Reed Center from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and their theme is it's all about local business. They're trying to encourage local businesses to come out and show their wares, advertise themselves, and admission for this item for the public is only a non-perishable food item. So it's going to be a great day at the Reed Center. Apparently there's only room for 14 or 15 more booths, so again, they're doing very well, but perhaps we might give them a little boost, and hopefully they can attract some more interest with that. Finally, just for the information of council, the Best in Business Awards, of course, coming up in October. The Chamber, once again, this year is going to be putting that off, and this year we're hosting it. It's our turn this year. It's going to be held at the Reed Community Center on August 15th, 2014, and October. Still thinking about summer. There you go. October 15th, 2014 at the Reed Center, and of course we always look forward to that. For information on any of these 3 items or anything related to the Chamber, folks can email info@mtpearlparadisechamber.com or call 364-8513. That's it for me.